Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome back to the Joan Quinn Profiles. We're taping here at the Hollywood Museum on Highland Avenue in the heart of Hollywood. And our guest is violinist Etienne Gara, who was born and raised in Paris, studied at the Mozartean University in Salzburg, and was a scholarship winner to the University in Cologne. And he went to music school in Indiana, was it?
In Indiana, in Bloomington, Indiana.
In Bloomington, Indiana. He earned his master's at the New England Conservatory of Music. And now you're at SC, or you were at SC, or you have been at SC?
A little bit everything, actually.
All of that?
I started at USC in the studio of Midori. Goto there, fantastic
Midori,
violinist.
the famous
She's a
violinist.
famous, wonderful violinist.
How old is she? She's young, isn't she?
She's in her early 40s.
Oh, she is. So
Yeah.
has she been there a long time?
Quite a few years, yeah.
Oh, I didn't
Already.
realize that. And so how many students does she have?
Not many, I would say around 8 at the moment.
And so does she choose them? Do you audition to be?
Yes, it's a long story. I was about to go back to Europe, actually, after my master's at NEC in Boston. And I met her at a music festival in Sweden.
Oh.
And it was like love at first sight. I absolutely wanted to continue studying with her.
Was she playing then, or did
She
you
was
just
playing, and we had a few lessons with her, and it was absolutely wonderful.
like master classes?
Yes.
Yes.
And after thinking a little bit, not too much, because it was such an opportunity, to be able to come to California and study with her, I decided not to go back to Europe. And
Oh, so
come
you
here.
did. And so you came here, and then did you have to audition?
I had to audition at USC. Great moment of stress, as every audition is.
And what do you do? How do you audition for something like that? This would be your master's, right? Or a certificate?
It's
or?
a graduate certificate in performance, in violin performance. It's called. I already have my master in Boston. at
I see,
NEC.
right.
So it's like a normal university. You apply by beginning of December. A lot of paperwork to do, and then you have a live audition where you play in front of a committee, teachers of the school that you apply to, and that was in March, early March.
So how many people would you play in front of? 5 or 6?
I would say normally it's like between 5 and 10.
And do you pick out what you want to play?
You have a required program.
Oh,
That you
it's like
have to-
skating, right? It's like
Yes.
like going to get so many points.
I don't think they give points for like auditioning, applying for a school, but they decide whether they feel you have the level of the school and whether the teacher is interested in working with you.
Oh, so they have to like you too. They watch
Yes.
you to see how you perform.
Exactly. So they tell you have, for example, to play a piece from Bach, a concerto, a sonata, a virtuosic piece, and then you can choose whatever you want in those categories.
Oh, they
And
tell
then you
you what
play.
to prepare for, and then
Yes.
you.
And then you have to be accepted by the school first, and then the teacher, once the school approved, you will say if yes or no they want to teach you.
Do you play on a certain violin?
I play a certain violin. It's a copy of Stradivarius, made by, it's a German maker who lives in Paris, a wonderful person called Stéphane von Baer. He actually won the VSA competition last year, which is an international competition for violin makers.
And how many violins does he make? A lot?
He makes quite a few. He's also very famous for his violas.
Ah.
So most of principal players in big European orchestras, a lot of Vienna Philharmonic players play his instruments, and soloists.
And so does he take orders, or does he have?
Yes.
Oh, he takes orders.
I
So he
was
knew what
very
he was
lucky.
going to make for you?
Yes, I was looking for instruments for quite a few years, and then I went to Paris. I went to his shop, tried a couple of violins of his, and I was like, I want your violin.
It's perfect?
It was wonderful. He had a great understanding of what I was looking for. So I immediately asked him to make a violin. It took 1 year before I actually got the violin.
And why does it take so long?
Because a lot of people want his violin, and
Oh.
he can make only that many.
I see. But he doesn't spend a year making it. You just have to
No,
wait in
it's
line.
a few months to
Yeah.
make a violin, and yeah.
And does he use certain wood? Is that, what did you want? What did you tell him you wanted?
I wanted, of course, a powerful instrument that you need, you know,
Powerful.
that's always a need nowadays. But I wanted a violin that has a very warm tone. I wanted an instrument with colors that you can really search for the quality of the sound. And very often, I have to say, modern instruments are getting better and better every day, actually.
So they don't have to be handmade, or they do have to be?
They are handmade.
They are all
They are
handmade.
completely handmade. And his instrument had just this particular sound and quality, finesse that I liked.
And what is it? Is it the wood that he uses, or the
It's a lot of things. It's the wood, the varnish is very important.
Varnish,
the
yeah.
craftsmanship, the attention to details.
the way he cuts it would make a difference?
The way he shapes it.
Yes?
So that's why I was saying it's a Stradivarius copy,
Uh-huh.
because it was made copying a Stradivarius from 1714, which is like the golden period of the maker.
And that had a certain sound at that time?
There's a certain sound, a certain way of playing that is very special. You can recognize it
You
as a
can.
violinist between, for example, a Guarnerius del Gesù, that is a very, I would say, masculine violin. You can really dig in it and get the best sound of it by not fighting, but really going to the core of the instrument, whereas Stradivarius has a little of a feminine finesse, I
Oh,
think.
it does.
Yes.
Is there another kind that people use? What does Medora use?
She has the Guarnerius.
So it's more stronger?
It's a different type of sound. I would personally say I think it's more masculine.
That's what I mean, like
Yeah.
that's what you're saying? So maybe a woman wants to have something that's tougher.
Yeah, it has this robustness to it in the playing. And but great violinists played both instruments. Sometimes they had both at home.
Oh, they do?
Or they were lucky, and they could choose depending on the program that they were playing.
I was going to say, does the music make a difference too?
Yes, it can, and they can have their preference, you know, like...
Do you come from a family of musicians?
Yes and no, because my father was a singer in his youth, and then he stopped for different reasons, and he was Hungarian, he's still Hungarian, and emigrated to France, where he met my mom.
And is she a musician?
She is not a musician. And then he became a music agent, so an impresario, and then a music director in a theater in Paris, and he has also a festival, chamber music.
What is it called? The festival?
The festival is called Juventus. Juventus. It's a festival for young European artists.
Oh, did you play in it when you were young?
I played there, yes.
Did you? Well, when did you start? You were very young.
I was around 5 years old.
And why did you start with the violin?
Well, my parents say that my father brought me to the theater where he works, and I was listening to a general rehearsal, a dress rehearsal of violinist Gidon Kramer, a very famous Russian violinist, and I just wanted to do like he was doing. And then I went on my parents' nerve until they just finally got me to the school. I remember it was like on Wednesday evenings at the school where I was going, and I survived there 1 year. And when they saw that after 1 year of that after-school program, I still wanted to play the violin, they actually contacted the conservatory. I mean, it's a bit a different system in France. You have conservatories which is only for music education, but you can start very young. So it's not like here, like university.
Which you started
level.
at, right?
So I started like 6.5 in the conservatory there, and never stopped until last year.
That's fantastic. Did you use a smaller violin, or
Yes.
just you do? They do.
I had like an eighth of a violin.
Is that
Just
right?
Very small. And then I had a quarter size, a half size that I remember liking a lot. A 3/4 size, and finally.
And finally,
So it's quite
how
a few
old were you
violins.
when you were regular size then?
Oh, that's hard to remember exactly. I guess I was around 12, maybe.
Just almost a teenager.
Yeah, 11.
When you went to so many different schools, you went in Cologne, you went in Salzburg. Do they teach different styles at those places?
Yes, there's.
Or did you
teach
go for a
little bit.
specific? Did you go for a
I
specific?
was always going for the teacher.
That's what I was
Yes.
wondering.
More than for the school itself, actually, because the bond between the students and the teacher is actually what does everything.
And who were those teachers that you liked, say in Salzburg?
So in Salzburg, I started with Igor Rozim. He's a Slovenian violinist. And then I also studied 2 years with Helmut Zetmeyer, who is a father, if you know of Thomas Zetmeyer, who is a very famous performer.
Setmeyer. So did they have different styles?
Somewhat different, yeah. I remember Igor Zim was very specific about technique. He had a very specific way of teaching the technique of the violin and the way of approaching the score and different composers. Where Helmut Zetmeyer had somewhat, I would say, more artistic, more fluid way of approaching
And then
things.
how do you put them all together? How do you put those together to make your own style?
Oh, it
Or
can
if
be
you
difficult.
have your own style, do you have your own style?
I think I have my own style very much, and I'm digging in this like research of finding really your voice and continuing on that path.
So the different experiences, say from Germany to Indiana, here you are, come to the United States. Did you come for somebody in particular?
Yes, I came from Mauricio Fuchs.
Uh,
I knew I wanted to come to America because it's somewhat of a parallel world, musical world, to the European music world, and I just heard so much about it. And I was asking around, do you know a good violin teacher? I didn't know much about it, and I heard many times his name coming in the conversation, so I contacted him and asked if I could meet him somewhere, and I was lucky he had a master class in France.
Oh, is that right?
So I just went there, it was fantastic, and the next year I started with him.
What should the audience look for when they're listening to a violin solo?
I think they should just see if they are touched by the way the violinist or the musician communicates the music.
Speaks to you.
It can be very personal, very subjective. Fantastic violinists can touch more this person or that person. There's no rules.
In different ways. Do you get something from the audience when you're playing?
Oh, yes.
Yes?
Oh, very much.
And
That's the magic of the performance, yeah.
It's magic?
Oh,
Is it
yes.
always good?
It's not always good, but when it's good, it can be really fantastic.
How do you feel that?
There is a response, an attention that you can feel. It can be in the silence that you feel they are so connected to every little gesture, every little sound. You can feel that tension, that electric tension with the audience, or you can have a very different approach, fantastic, towards the audience who would actually almost participate. You feel like the body gesture when you move, they kind of are into the music. There are many different ways that you can feel the public, but
that's very
a great public is very important for a concert. Yeah.
That's really interesting. So that's all solo. You only do solo work?
Solo or chamber music. So what we call solo is very often with a pianist. So it's a duo is almost like chamber music.
Right.
Actually, is a word.
And chamber music is?
We call it, I mean, it can be also sonata, which is violin, piano, but very often we define chamber music more as trio, so 3 people and more, up to maybe, I would say, 8 people.
Before we leave, I wanted to touch on, you've had some great episodes with Eric Tanguy and Itzhak Perlman, and we have to mention the Armenian violinist Kim Kashkarian.
The violist, yes.
Oh, she's a violist.
She's a fantastic violist. She's teaching at Tennessee in Boston.
Have you played with her?
I didn't play with her, I played for her.
Oh, you did?
And we had like chamber music, coaching with her was absolutely fantastic. And as many of the teachers I've met, other violists, Roger Tapping, my teacher at Tennessee, Donald Weilerstein, many others. It's hard to put all the names. It was so inspiring to meet them.
Well, that's why today was so great, because we had so many names. And I think that's really interesting to open up the world and hear all those names for a violin student.
Yes, I mean, it's fantastic violinist, musicians, but also dancers. I just collaborated last year with American Contemporary Ballet, which is based in Los Angeles.
Yes, I know.
It was an amazing experience.
Did you play with them?
I played with them. It was live playing, and they were dancing.
And Martin Chalafor plays with them too.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
So that's great, and I thank you so much for coming.
Oh, thank you.
Etienne Gara, and my audience, keep writing to JAQUINN1 at AOL.com. See you next time.